Hey, this is Anthony and Jack from Bayside. We're here at the Party Store Room at 4115 Studios in Nashville, Tennessee. We're going to do like a kind of something, I think, a pretty interesting thing, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think it's interesting?
I think it's interesting.
It was my idea, so if you think it's a bad idea, now's the time to say it.
Just
We're gonna do like an inside the track thing for our record Vacancy. We're basically we have the sessions pulled up in the studio, and we're gonna go through the songs and kind of dig into them deep and sort of explain our intentions with the different parts and what they're doing, and sort of maybe even how some of the parts came about, some of the arguments we had over the parts.
Yeah, it's interesting because when you make a record, there's a lot of stuff in there that you might not hear. I mean, I know just even with multiple layered backup vocals or like multiple layered guitar parts where you really hear one thing very prominently, but without a lot of intensive listening, you might not notice a lot of things. So it'll be interesting to kind of bring out a lot of the nuanced parts that maybe some people missed if you got marginal headphones, or if you're just kind of a casual listener. This is just sort of a little insight into the depths that we go into a lot of these songs.
There's a lot of songwriting tricks and production tricks and musician tricks that bands use, or good bands at least use, that like there's a lot of things going on that you may feel, but you don't actually know why you feel it, and we're gonna kind of go through that. Yeah, there's 2 letters, the opening track on the record, and I think we're just gonna go like part by part.
Yeah, I think so.
So here's the drums, the bass, and the rhythm guitar playing like the main riff. Ba, 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 ba. And then Jack comes in with like the twangy lead. That's cool, but what's interesting about that is that that's the base of the song, and Jack has that riff there, but it's really just for flavor, right?
Yeah, when we were kind of doing it, we felt like the intro, if I was doing the main riff for twice as long, it felt like it was just kind of rehashing the same thing over and over. So we wanted a kind of a second lead that would accent the main riff, that would kind of elevate it slightly, but not be a really flashy or like a lot brighter. So it's like almost like a subtle lead and then a real lead.
The verse is sort of built around the bass and the drum pattern. Nick and Chris always spend a lot of time making sure that those rhythms lock in. The bass is right on with the kick drum.
Yeah, we wanted something that would kind of not take away. I mean, the important part is, like Anthony was saying, the drums and the bass there. So we wanted something that was going to be a little bit airy, pretty light, just to give it kind of a textural element. And what Anthony had done on a demo of this song was using an acoustic guitar to kind of create that, to let it breathe from it being kind of driving and heavy. What I ended up kind of coming up with when we were sitting down to do it was kind of like a slightly delayed, cleaner part that kind of gave it almost like a, I don't want to use like band names to give examples, but after we were kind of done, we were like, it's a little Death Cabby, almost kind of really clean, floaty, and it allows the song to breathe right there, so that when it comes back in on the second half of the pre-chorus.
So you have the rhythm section, and then this is with Jack's. What's cool about that is actually a bunch of guitars to build that. And then second guitar on top of it. So that's actually
3 guitars all doing
3 guitars. All right, we'll jump into the bridge. Another really groovy part of the song. So the part that we actually were talking about Maroon 5.
Yep, we were
That's
talking
where that
about
came
that
from.
song from Songs of Jane. Songs about
that's
Jane?
that's where that idea came from. So it's a rhythmically driven part. So it starts with. So that's where me and Chris, when we're working on songs together, this is where we complement each other. Because if it was up to me, it would have just been do 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 do. But Chris, of course, has to add math into everything. So it's got to go do do 1 2 1 1, 2, 1. And then really the crux of the idea was to add Jack's
Like an up accent on
the up accent, but where it falls instead of do-do, bow, do-do, bow, do-do, bow, it's on the upbeat, and that's really what makes the part what it is. So it's right before where you think it's going to be or where you feel it's going to be, and that adding that anticipation is really what makes the part.
And then I had to put a turnaround that sounded like 1987 on it.
And then I harmonized the whole thing, which is I like to do a lot. X sounds dirty, I can't say it sounds so final, now I'm still praying for turn around. And then the heavy climax. That's something that we do a lot.
Yeah.
We bring back themes, melodic themes from other parts of the songs. The intro lead comes back there in that last chorus.
Ties the room together. really ties the room together.
Check out all the stuff Jack's got going on there. See, like when you listen to the track, usually you listen this way. If you can visualize the way you listen this way, and usually what's right there is the vocal, and that's kind of what you're hearing, and all those guitars are panned like all around you, so they're there and you're feeling them, you're feeling all that ambience it's creating, but unless you did this when you really were focusing in on them, you would actually hear it. And there's the intro lead that comes back, the screaming background vocals again. There you go. Long. Usually we would fade this out quicker, but just let it go.
Still going.
On this.
Still going.
The thing that sticks out the most to me about putting that song together is in the intro, and every time the intro comes back, I was fighting really hard. See, Chris is riding on the rack tom, and I really wanted it to be on the crash. I wanted it to be like a bigger doo da doo da.
That was a big thing with him,
a huge
actually.
fight. We got into a huge fight about it, and I was totally wrong. And now I listen to it, and I'm so glad that I was talked into keeping it on the tom, because it's way cooler that way.
Yeah, that was one. Actually, that theme was a big thing with Tim as well, where he was really pushing us to move away from a lot of stuff that we've done a lot in the past, with like riding on crashes or like kind of crashing on rides and having that be a driving part of the drums. He really pushed Chris and us a lot to try to use the cymbals a lot more sparingly and for more accent and less of like creating
That
like
sticks
kind of
out a lot
a
to me,
high mid
that.
wash.
Yep. So that's 2 letters.